Oh, hi. Sorry. I've been trying to do this video for about 20 minutes now, and I keep getting phone calls, and my wife comes in, and the cat climbs all over me. Anyway, I think I'm finally there. Right. It's going to be a real quick one today because it's not really about gear or even photography, but about marketing. I've had Every time I do a video that's about weddings or portraits or boudoir or anything like that, anything that's about photographing people on a professional sort of basis, I always get some people, quite a few actually, drop me a comment saying, how do you get your clients? How do you find people? Where do you get bookings? And um, so I thought I'd do, and I've just had one recently that sort of triggered this video, and I thought I could spend 5 minutes doing a video about this because I've had a bit of a push recently on doing marketing and that sort of thing as well. So let me just tell you my thoughts about getting people for your business. Now, this obviously only applies to wedding photographers, portrait, boudoir, family, proms, anything that involves people paying you to photograph them or their event or something like that. It's not for landscape or anything like that. So, as you're probably aware, I've done this. I turned professional 2013, started doing weddings 2014, became full-time 2015. And I've used every possible marketing trick I can think of. And before that, I did website design, built websites, and did internet marketing. So I started off in a pretty good place. I had a pretty good idea of what would work, what wouldn't work. Things have changed, and in fact it's just a completely new world. It's a different world, and to be honest, because I've been full-time doing weddings, I haven't really kept up over the years with marketing techniques and what works on Facebook now, what works on Google Ads now, how to get SEO working and all that kind of stuff. But I'm possibly more in touch than most other wedding photographers, certainly in my area anyway. So let me pass on what I think works, what doesn't work, not in detail, but just to point you in the right direction. Right, so let's get started. One, advertising in any sort of printed work, any magazine or anything, newspaper, it is just a complete and utter waste of money. It does not work. I ran ads probably 2 years ago for 6 months in a wedding magazine, and I think I maybe got one inquiry. Literally, I didn't book anything, one inquiry from a very, very expensive, relatively speaking. I mean, we're talking many hundreds of pounds. By the way, I'm in the UK. So if you're in the US or in Australia, some of the things I'm going to talk about may not quite apply in the same way, might be slightly different, but I think the overall, the sort of the gist of it should still work. So yeah, real world magazines, forget it. Staying with the real world, wedding fairs and that sort of thing. I went through a phase probably just before COVID, probably 2019-ish, of doing lots of wedding fairs, and since then I've still done a few since then, and they are extremely hit and miss. There have been some I've been to where I've booked 3 or 4 weddings. I think the best was probably 4 weddings from one wedding fair. Cost wise, here in the UK, for a local venue here in Suffolk, with 20-25 stands, maybe 3 wedding photographers, something like that, we're looking at £250, £300, something like that for a stand for about 4 hours. As I say, the best one I got, I think I booked 4 weddings. The worst, in 4 hours we had about 6 people through the door, and I spoke to about 2 of them in 4 hours. An absolute disaster. So they can be right down here, they can be right up there. I would say average £250 for a stand. Probably going to book on average 1 wedding. So yeah, they kind of work, but they're an expensive way. If you're charging, you know, £1,000 for a wedding, you're giving a quarter of that away to get to be able to book that wedding. So it's quite expensive, but it does work. And then of course we get to the internet, online, so all that stuff. So wedding websites, Hitched, Bridebook, and there's loads and loads of other ones. Wedding websites where a couple, a bride, if they're looking for suppliers, for ideas, for, you know, tips and tricks and that sort of thing, would go to one of these websites and would log in, would register with them, and would then maybe search for photographers, for venues, for hair and makeup artists, whatever. They would go there to find their suppliers. Registering with those websites, and my main one, I'll be completely open, my main one, and the one that I've whittled down over the years to having just this one, is Hitched. I pay to be one of the sort of top advertisers in 2 counties, Suffolk and Essex. It costs... My photo just fell down. It costs, what are we talking, £1,200 a year for each county, so that's double that. And I probably book in total for the 2 counties, so £2,400 I think it is in total I pay. I haven't done the numbers, but I'm guessing we're looking at 8 or 10 weddings. So we're looking at about 25%. So 10,000, I would make about £10,000 from that. We're looking at spending £2,500 to get that £10,000. It's still not a cheap way of doing things, but it does work. Certainly from Hitched, and the reason I've stuck with Hitched, they tend to be fairly high quality leads. They're not just out to look for the cheapest photographer. So yeah, I quite like them, if only they were half the price. There are then other websites where you can buy leads, and I'm thinking of places like Bark, Add to Event, Bridebook, maybe some others. I have bought leads from them. They do tend to be more people that are searching for a good price. There are exceptions, of course, and I have a few weddings that I've done from people that have booked through Bark or Add to Event and so on and so forth, who turned out to be absolutely fantastic, really good, great people. And I probably wrong, they didn't book me on price, they booked because of the photos. So there are exceptions, but generally speaking, we're looking at price hunters, which then leaves advertising. And advertising and SEO. Talk about SEO first. It's taken me, well, since I started, I redesigned or completely revamped my website in, I think it was 2019, so we're now 6 years. And it's taken me until, it's probably last year, so probably 4 years, to get on the front page of Google organic search for any sort of search phrase connected with weddings. So the big sort of search phrase that most brides would use when looking for a photographer would be something like wedding photographer, then your county, your town. You know, it could be wedding photographer in North London or wedding photographer in Pennsylvania, whatever. It's not just going to be wedding photographer, because they get results from the whole world. So they're going to narrow it down probably by location, maybe by price, or wedding photographers under £1,000 or something like that. They're going to put something after the wedding photographer bit. So for that bit, for my area, for Suffolk, wedding photographer in Suffolk, I've only made the front page of Google there in the last 6 months. And this is a guy who knows something about SEO. It's really, really tough. Now, it might just be where I live. I suspect it's going to be pretty tough wherever you live to get up there, which means you might want to use Google Ads. That will get you to the top of the page instantly, providing you're willing to pay. And willing to pay means here in the UK at the moment, to get wedding photographer Suffolk and to be the number one, you're probably looking at over £3 a click. In my experience, both now and back when I did internet marketing, you have got to be prepared to pay a lot of money to get a booking. I would estimate, again, I haven't worked the numbers out exactly, but you're looking at probably 60 clicks. No, hold on. You're probably looking at 30 or 40 clicks to get someone to actually send you a message and actually make an inquiry. And you probably need 2 or 3 of those before you get a booking. So we're looking at, what are we looking at? So £3.50, so 30, so that's going to be £100. You're probably looking at £300 again to get a booking. So if you're only charging £500 for your wedding, you're giving away £300 to get that £500. Doesn't really make a lot of business sense. So what I can also infer from that, together with the SEO results, is that it's strange, and this has changed since 10 years ago. Google search used to be a really big thing, and I back before I did weddings, I was very, very good at Google Ads. And I could refine a campaign and the ads and all sorts of stuff and the keywords, and I could get some very good results for the people that I was working for. Now, Google doesn't seem to be such a big player. My boudoir website is number one. If you search for boudoir photographer in Suffolk, I'm number one. If you search for best boudoir photographer in Suffolk, I'm number one. And various other search phrases, I'm number one. Which means I should get a lot of inquiries. I don't. If I look on Google, their numbers say that there are about, I think the last figure was about 120 searches a month for boudoir photographer in Suffolk. A very low number, 120 is nothing. But you would think that 120 people seeing Boudoir by Alan as the number one result for what they're looking for would mean that I get some sort of inquiries. Some months I get 0 inquiries from Google. So people don't seem to be using Google as much as they were years ago. Which finally leads us on to Facebook. And I would say most of my business now, both boudoir, portraits and weddings, comes from Facebook. And Facebook don't make it easy either. Almost every month they make some change to their advertising platform, to the way they do things. They're continually incorporating more and more automation into it, so that you can basically now just start an ad, give them your website, and it will go off and it will create an ad completely automatically, almost. It'll read your website, it'll know what you're talking about, it'll know what sort of people you're looking for, what sort of people go to your website, and so on and so forth. So you can leave it almost completely automatically. And there was a point when I thought, yeah, Facebook are just doing this so they can, buy us the ad campaign and all that, so that they make more money out of the ads. I don't think that's true. I genuinely now think that Facebook have got so good at advertising that you can leave a lot of the hard work to them. It used to be, I can remember running a Facebook ad when I first started weddings, and I had one campaign. Within the campaign I had probably 4 ads with 4, what's the next one down? So you've got a campaign. Anyway, you've got 3 levels. Sorry, my brain's gone. So one campaign, one next step down, would have 4, and within each of those I would have probably 3 ads. So I'd have like 12 ads in 3 or 4 different groups within this campaign that I had to keep track of and try and keep records of the results and make changes and then see what effect they. It was almost a full-time job just trying to keep track of how the Facebook ads were performing. Now I run one campaign, one ad, and almost let Facebook get on with it. I've run enough ads in the past that Facebook have learnt what I'm looking for. They've got my website, they've got my Facebook page, they know what people like my Facebook page. I've got a pixel, obviously, on my website, Facebook pixel. I use that for retargeting, for lookalike audiences, and you don't even need to do that these days. Facebook almost does a lookalike audience itself. So Facebook ads work. You've still got to spend money, but to get £1,000 wedding, I don't have to spend £250 on ads. We're looking more at. We're still looking around about probably £100 on Facebook ads will book me a wedding, a £1,000 or £1,200 wedding. And similarly with a boudoir shoot is £250, and I'll probably, because there's less competition for boudoir photographers. I mean, in my area in Suffolk, there's probably only 4 or 5 other boudoir photographers, so people have got less choice, but there's a lot less demand for boudoir photography, so the whole sort of thing is scaled down. So to book that £250 shoot, I'll probably end up spending £40 or £50 on Facebook ads. So Facebook ads do work, but you need to know how to do them. I am no good at telling that. Well, I am good at that, but I'm not any good at telling you, explaining it. So let me just, where's it gone? On YouTube, there is a guy, and I'm just trying to find it now as I'm speaking to you. The guy you want to look at on YouTube is called Ben Heath. He's English. He's got an absolute massive amount of videos about Facebook ads. He runs an agency which is dealing with many millions of pounds per year in advertising. He's been doing it for 10 years. And if you want help with your Facebook ads, Ben Heath on YouTube. And that is the best way to get business. I hope you found this useful. This isn't sponsored. I'm not getting anything from Ben Heath. He knows nothing about this, but it's just that I know so many people are struggling to get clients, and this thing about being ghosted and not getting responses, and it's just modern life, I'm afraid. Even suppliers. I met a videographer 2 weeks ago. I want to do some YouTube videos, and you'll see this in future, of using my Leica for portrait photography. I'm going to do some videos about that, and I wanted this videographer to work with me on maybe 5 or 6 videos as a collaboration. So I've emailed her 2 days ago. 2 days ago, no response, no reply, nothing. So even suppliers and models who I would pay to come along to the shoot, not a vast amount of money, but something, no response. So it just seems to be modern life is a matter of sending stuff out all over the place, and someone sometime will come back to you. That's as good as it gets. The days of sort of proper one back and forth communication just almost seems over. Sad, but true. So if you're finding you're not getting the results you want and people are just ghosting you, that's not just you, it's life. Get used to it if you want to be in business. Okay, I'll wrap it up there. As I say, I plan, when I can find a videographer, to do some videos about using Leica for shooting portraits. Now, it doesn't have to be a Leica, it will also apply to whatever camera you've got, but particularly using that. And that hopefully will be around in a week or two. So in the meantime, Best of luck with your business. Cheers for now.